Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Preacher and the Prodigy podcast. It is preseason 2025, and we are looking ahead into this season ahead of us in Major College Football with a couple of early predictions, prognostications, and just general thoughts about the state of college football before the opening kickoff in Dublin between Iowa State and Kansas State. And today we want to think with you about the playoff philosophically. We're not going to be predicting which teams will be there this season. We want to think about what it ought to look like. This year at Big Ten Media Days, Dan Lanning had some thoughts on when the playoffs should start. Obviously carrying some scars with him from last year's bye after winning the Big Ten and then getting absolutely walloped by Ohio State. But who belongs in? What kind of auto bids belong in? How many players, how many teams should be allowed to be participating? These are the questions that are before the NCAA right now, as long as it still has an opportunity to speak into this, which it may not be very much longer, because all the power right now rests with the Big Ten and the SEC.
We're just inevitably waiting for the Big Ten and the SEC to branch off and do their own thing from the NCAA, because quite frankly, what the NCAA is doing, a lot of teams and a lot of executives are just like, we don't want to be a part of this that much longer. And so don't be surprised if 5 years down the road, the Big Ten and the SEC and even Big 12 and the ACC are off doing their own thing.
The professionalization of college football is nearing completion, and the NCAA is just really a figurehead at this point, has very little say and sway over what happens here. So looking ahead now, we are in a new model in which auto bids exist, but auto buys do not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that the top four teams will be ranked as such, will not be dependent upon which conferences they come from.
Yeah, they will just be straight seeding this year, a change from last year, where last year we saw each Power 4 conference champ. It still feels weird to say. We love the Pac-12. But each Power 4 conference champion would get the auto bye. Now this year, top 4 teams get the auto bye. Each conference champion, including the best group of 5 teams, still automatically gets in. They just don't automatically have the bye. So that is the one change.
And it was necessary. Clearly, Boise State, Arizona State were not 2 of the best 4 teams in the country. They should have played different teams in the opening rounds because it did not go well for them in the opening rounds. But I think we can credit the NCAA for making this change. But is it the way you want it to be, Jericho?
No.
What would you like it to look like?
We are here to fix that. Today we are going to be going over our personal beliefs on how we think the college football playoff should pan out. What we personally believe would be better for the sport, would be better for the teams, for players, etc., etc., and what we believe would be a more fun and epic college football end. I guess I can go first. You already kind of led me that way.
Yeah.
To start, we do have very different views on this. Each view has their own pros and cons. It just depends which pro outweighs which con. I personally am going to go with an 18 playoff. I think an 18 playoff is a good line between separating the teams that can win the championship and which teams cannot. We saw Ohio State, with 2 losses and not even a Big Ten championship game appearance. They were still in the top 8, but a lot of people didn't consider them to be in the top 4. They ended up winning. I think this gives a little more life to the 2023 Florida States, where they have, we went undefeated. Even though we lost one of our best players, we still got to get in because we did our job. This gives a little more leeway into giving the better teams the right to compete and win the regular season and go win. I still will put automatic conference championship qualifiers in as 4 and then 4 at-larges because that creates more importance to the conference championship games whereas maybe a second ACC or Big 12 team could get in the 12-team playoff. Now you got to run your regular season. You got to win your conference championship game. That also goes for the Big 10 and the SEC as well. So I will have 8-team playoff. I would like it to be started, what would it be? 2 Saturdays before Christmas, which is currently this year when the Army-Navy game is going on. We could push Army-Navy to, the Sunday after rivalry week, even though there's going to be a lot of college or NFL games going on. I don't know if broadcasters would like that, but I don't care what TV people think. I think that's what would be best. You can keep it on a Sunday. I like the tradition there. College football fans would love that the day after rivalry Saturday gets done. Then from there, the bowl games in the quarterfinals and the semifinals can, get swapped around a little bit. Citrus Bowl, Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. And then that would be Saturdays, not whatever weekdays was going on this past year. Saturdays this year would be the 13th, the 20th would be the semifinals, and then it would end at the Rose Bowl the January 1st. As it should be, and as college football tradition and how we, like the most beautiful landscape of the sport beneath the San Gabriel Mountains. That's how I think it should be. Mixing around whatever bowl games you want to in the quarterfinals and semifinals. For at-larges, for automatic qualifier conference champions, that gives a good spread of the best teams in college football. And I think we'll be enough because it's still almost the same amount of games as the 12-team playoffs, so media people can still get their money's worth for watching games, but I think that is a good clean cut.
So how many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
How many teams from the NFL make the playoffs?
14.
So what percentage of NFL teams make the playoffs every year? It's about 40%, right?
Yeah.
Does the system the NFL has suffer for excitement or energy or passion? Are there stadiums that are not filled up? I think that in all likelihood, in my model, which has 16, that most years the national champion is going to come from the top 8. I really think that that's true. But I'm in favor of 16 teams in the playoffs. And here's one of the reasons why. I think that there is an extraordinary motive for 8 teams to play a home college football game as part of the playoffs. So I'm pretty much indifferent on the conference championship games. I don't really like them that much, and probably I would get rid of them. So I think that in the same way I get rid of the NCAA tournaments for each conference, but I think that winning your conference is a huge deal. You think you hang a banner for that, and I think at the end of that time, by the way, I like ending on New Year's Day with you, so I'm backing the whole system up. If there are conference championships, I want them the same day as the Army-Navy game. And so that there would be 1 week break after that week so people can make travel plans, and then the playoffs start. So you have 4 weeks of the playoffs. I want 8 home games for those top 8 seeds. And then I think you take the 7 bowls that bid the highest to host those remaining 7 games, and then you just kind of rotate through there. Every 7th year it gets to be a championship. I love the Rose Bowl as much as anybody else. I just don't think it's viable that will host every year. So I think auto bids for the top 4 conferences with you, and then I just think you pick the next best 12 teams. And again, I think what the college basketball has is amazing. I don't think there's anything wrong with having 64, 66, whatever teams, 68 competing for that right now. Most of the time the cream's going to rise to the top anyway. So I'm going to 16-team playoff, ending New Year's Day, 4 auto bids, 8 home games, and let's rock.
Well, the 68-team playoff is a little bit different because half of those teams are also automatic qualifiers, but a lot of those teams are in positions where they would never be able to make it as
You think half of those teams are automatic qualifiers? So you think there's 34 conferences, correct?
There are 32 conferences.
I don't know that number.
So, and a lot of those teams would never make it, who win their conference would never make it. So there's a little bit difference there. There are a lot more teams in college basketball, which means you need a bigger playoff. But that's why you're not doing a 68-team playoff for college football. I do like the idea of home games for the first round. You saw a lot of excitement with the home games at in Notre Dame and Texas. Great environments. I agree with you. That's fun and all, but
and I do think, just parenthetically in that, I think an important question would be: do you do what the NCAA committee does, which is avoid rematches? I would definitely try to avoid rematches in the first round.
Well, you could, and that's another reason why yours is viable. But the issue for me here is it completely takes away the value of the regular season. I mean, you will have SEC teams going 8-4 with their best win against a 7-5 South Carolina get in because they were high in the preseason AP poll and everybody thought of them as high, and they just were able to sneak in as the 15th best team. I don't like that. I don't want them competing for a national championship. It's fun to watch them go on the road and get hammered by Texas 49-17, but
and I see that completely. So this is where we're completely opposite. I think that the regular season retains value longer when you have twice as many teams competing for spots in the playoff. I think, a lot of teams and a lot of players are just going to say, hey, well, it's, November 10, our team's out, I'm going to opt out the rest of the season. You literally double the number of teams and the number of players that are still hoping to get in. You might start off the season, 2-3, but if you rip off 7 wins in a row, people are interested. I think it allows you to schedule more interesting non-conference games as well at the beginning of the season, because you won't be penalized as severely as it otherwise would if you've got a 200% greater chance of being in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I think where we vary on the regular season thing is you're trying to give more value to the regular season as a whole.
I'm a college football fan. I'm a college football fan.
Spread out the value of the regular season over the span. I'm giving more value to each individual game in college football because each game will matter a little bit more. And if you lose 2 games in the SEC, you might still be in. But, I mean, hey, if you're one of the 8 best teams, maybe you shouldn't have lost those 2 games.
Fine.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
So, yeah.
What do you think about conference championship games? Are you for them? Are you against them?
I'm for them, and here's why. Is because a lot of the times, we saw this more with divisions and conferences, but a lot of the times you'll get fun matchups that you don't see. Like Oregon and Penn State didn't play the regular season last year. That's an exciting matchup of 2 top 5 teams that you can go watch play, or what we gauged to be the top 5 teams at that time. Texas, Georgia, you will get rematches, but then, like Georgia proved, you will see who actually is the better team, because we thought, oh well, Texas had a fluke game at home against Georgia. Well, now Georgia, even with a backup quarterback, is able to win. We saw this with Oregon and Washington in 2023 when Washington sneakily came away against Dan Lanning's Oregon because Dan Lanning was getting a little bit too risky. We go into the Pac-12 championship game. Everybody's thinking, Oregon's favored by 9.5 points. Washington wins that game, so they really were the better team, and they might not have gotten into the playoff otherwise with that win.
I believe if you go to an 18 playoff, you have to have conference championship games. I think you do. With 16, I'm just not sure. You make an interesting point about Penn State and Oregon last year was a really good game, pretty competitive game. Penn State played them hard. But the flip side of that is the 3 previous Big Ten championship games, Michigan happened to win all 3 of them over vastly inferior opponents.
Well, yeah.
So now I think getting rid of the divisions helps, because going forward, if you're in this, let's just say it's Michigan 2021, and both Hassan Haskins and Cade McNamara get injured in that game, you're like, you wish we hadn't played that game.
Right, but at that point, there could be questions. Okay, are they, going to be like, are they going to be able to stay healthy through the rest of the playoffs, which they would go to? But the Army-Navy thing, we both agree on shouldn't move it. The issue for me, small one, Army and Navy are both in the same conference, so you can't really move it to conference championship weekend, in my opinion, because they could both play in the conference championship and then boost their stock to try and get into
a good point.
In my 18 playoff. If it's a 16-team playoff, they might be able to get in without needing to play in the American. Sorry, I can't,
So let me just ask you this question, and because we need to wind down, but give me the ideal number of wins that a college football NCAA national champion has.
So it would be 12, 13.
You're 15 then. Or are you going to take the 16?
16.
Okay. So 16.
Ideal would be 15.
Yeah, I think 15 is the ideal number for me as well.
16 you're an all-time team. 15 you're a national champion. You can blow one, if you're on the road. Like this is Nick Saban's another 2023 reference. Nick Saban's explanation for why he should have gotten into the playoffs. Then is they lost 2 road games at the wire. So I think
of course, all this stuff is academic because conferences play by different sets of rules. They have different numbers of out-of-conference versus conference games. That's why the best system we have, you and I proposed new conferences and new divisions 2 years ago in this podcast. We revisited them offline the other day.
We both think we have the best conference realignment in the world.
So that was the model was 96 teams in Division 1A. With 8 conferences, each of which had 2 6-team divisions. Play everybody in your division, crossover, probably 1 protected in a crossover, 2 others. That gives you 8 conference games you can play around. But you're not playing around with 1 AA teams or MAC teams. You have to kind of stay within that 96-team envelope.
Because with the equity that we gave each conference, it'd really straw out, okay, this would be the best team from the southeast of the United States, this would be the best team from the far Pacific West of the United States.
Yeah, we definitely tried to regionalize ours.
Yeah.
Regional rivalries, historical rivalries, competitive balance. It didn't work out perfectly, but I think it's a lot more fun than what we have now, where 2 conferences are really just bullies in the room, and some of your smaller schools, your Virginias, your Boise States, they're just kind of getting pushed around by what the Big Ten and SEC are doing. So someday it'll happen. We'll pay attention to that as the years go by, and I do think we'll be going to 16, perhaps as early as 2026.
Probably. It's not the way it should go, but that seems to be the way we're heading. More the merrier in the eyes of the Big Ten, especially.
I just think, as I've said many times, the NCAA, the powers that be, are going to value participation of the best players, especially given these NIL deals that they get. And if that doesn't happen, they're going to probably have to start saying, okay, NIL is going to be contingent on games played or something like that, so guys don't just take a whole season check and then opt out of meaningless games. And that's where people who are donors are going to have a say in this as well. So it's a whole new world.
It's all together, NIL and season, playoff, and transfer portal. It's all wrapped in this big bundle that we love and call college football.
Yep. As we've said in the past, we wish that none of the 3 were there, but they do make sense going together to kind of balance out the dollars, the schools, and then the rights of the players. So, good podcast. We'll continue on with preseason. One more preseason podcast? Or 2 more preseason?
We got National coming up. We got Michigan coming up for the Michigan lovers of this channel.
All right. Till then, I'm the Preacher.
I'm the Prodigy.
Peace.
Peace.